Yo, what up? This is your boy Solo. Now we're back here again with another episode, and this is gonna be about how our higher natures and lower natures are creating the father natures and mother natures that we see outside of us. And when it comes to the masculine and feminine energies, we can see the masculine and feminine energies in all aspects of life, and it's also within us. And it's for a reason that we are here and we are connected to the same natures outside of us, because we are nature itself. This physical existence, this physical body is part of the natures outside of us when it comes to fire, water, wind, and earth. And these are mechanisms that's being utilized as a spirit to bring itself into existence to experience reality or life, which people call life. And not to get lost in words, but try to understand a deeper meaning behind these words. So our higher natures will be the mind, the masculine energy, how we're able to create an atmosphere, and how that atmosphere looks, how we feel about that atmosphere, aka the mind. The mind is an atmosphere. So how the mind looks is how Mother Nature will look. How that mental atmosphere is, how you envision it, how you imagine it, how you have ideas about it, is how the spirit is jumping into mentalities, frequencies, images, and it's it's wanting to experience. And that's what we call the masculine energy, the mental atmosphere. And we have different levels of seeing atmospheres in what's outside of us, the external world, what we call earth. So the air quality in astrology will be the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. These are air signs. These are the masculine signs of astrology. And these are the thinkers. They use logic, and logic is correlated to the mind, the mentality, Mercury, and how we think, how we utilize logic to navigate and just understand things, and how to just navigate and think for ourselves. And this is a masculine energy that's playing out as air. And when we see air outside of us, air is everywhere. Every air is like a free motion type of element. Is vast, is limitless, and is like you're able to fly. You see, not able to fly, but you feel like you can fly, but like we see different types of the best way I can put it is like your mind is the air quality, is the same thing as what's playing out outside of us. And we're flying with our minds, even though we're in the physical existence, like in this density. Your mind is astral traveling, is always running, but we shouldn't see it as running, but like your mind is a body, is traveling in a different realm. And this is what we call the atmosphere, the mental atmosphere. And that atmosphere is part of the mechanisms to on how we're creating this physical existence. And our emotions is the feminine counterpart, and it's also how we are creating this existence. So the spirit is non corporeal, is nothing, no thing becoming something. So nothing developed the mind, it had to develop an intelligence, and that intelligence is an atmosphere, is a mind, and how we're seeing ourselves with that intelligence of the mind. And we're coming up with all these ideas and visions and imaginations with the mind, and this is how we feel on what direction that we want to think and imagine things and envision as a spirit, so we can develop the growth, the spiritual growth, how we want to live, what's acceptable or not within our space, aka our spirit. Your space is just your spirit, and spirit is nothing. So as a mind, you're collecting some things outside of you, or within you, to gather, and so it can be part of your spirit, your space. So this is how we are accumulating ideas, creations, imaginations for our spirit. And as far as it is right now, this is how we're just navigating as a collective to how we're evolving within this water bubble, this water cycle that we call the universe or Earth. So the mind is how we're creating that atmosphere, and that atmosphere bends in how we feel about it, how we feel about the atmosphere. It becomes density, vibrations, emotions, heavy waters, and the mind is like a cloud. It's like I said, it's an atmosphere, a cloud, and when you put feelings and emotions behind it, it starts to rain. It becomes water, vibrations, and this is how we give birth to new creations of life and water flows and existences. And this is what this first spirit, this is what what people call God, this is what the spirit is doing. And that's what the first spirit did. Like the spirit that we live in, that's what the first spirit did, and how it has expanded. And now we're living through it, and we're doing the same thing with this vessel. But it's a different way how to interpret it. But and like I said, like the masculine will be the mind, the feminine will be the emotions, and people, based on not knowing themselves and being indoctrinated, they think the mind is just a separate thing for themselves. Like a mind is just a mind, a brain. But you need to ask yourself, how did the brain get created? Like I said, the spirit created an atmosphere. The subconscious mind is the atmosphere. And that's the metaphysical part of the brain, how it's creating the matter, the energy, the image of it, how it looks. And how that subconscious mind is how it developed the brain. There has to be, you need to ask yourself, the spiritual component of the brain, physical brain, is the subconscious mind. But a lot of people are not tapped into themselves and how to see these type of downloads and information. And you can see it for yourself within, but it takes a lot of shadow work and understanding of how things is working. So yeah, the spirit created a mind. It created a subconscious atmosphere. That atmosphere jumped into a feeling, an emotion, and that emotion, those waters, those vibrations, is how it developed the blueprint to even have the physical counterpart of the subconscious mind, aka the atmosphere. on how it's navigating and moving and experiencing through that astral travel. And this is how we're all playing our part collectively, sharing the same existence. And I probably butchered some little parts previously. I was trying to, think of something, but it is what it is. So, yeah. A lot of people are using their minds to imagine things outside of them that, they have all these ideas of how God looks, all these concepts, and, people, there's a lot of people that are using their minds for what is not meant to be used for. And you're already doing the mechanism that's creating reality. How you're growing as an adult, evolving, your body expands. That's because of the mind. The mind is experiencing, the mind is developing, all these ideas and concepts, and this adds on to your physical experience, but also your appearance. So this is how the spirit accumulates. It jumps into mentalities and ideas, and these ideas, how we feel about things, how we feel about these ideas is how we give birth to these experiences and existences. So we're doing this in the spiritual world first, but simultaneously, your spirit is already, when you're having dreams, you're not in your physical existence. You're flying in the astral realm as a mind. You're more, when you have dreams, you can easily shift into a different reality when you're in your dreams. Like, it's weird. Like, you could be like fighting something in your dream, and then 1 second later you're underwater, and then another second later you're flying between buildings and shit like that. Like, you get the point. Like, dreams is just fluid, and that's how we're creating existences as a spirit. We're creating all these types of ideas and imaginations, and this is what the Great Spirit did first, and how we're living through the Great Spirit, and how we are creating Father Nature and Mother Nature. So Father Nature is the masculine part, like I said, the atmosphere, the mentality, and how that atmosphere looks. Father time is how the inverted version of the counterpart will look, aka Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is the earth around us, is the external world, is the physical appearance outside of us. And we're part of this external world. Our physical body is part of it, because we are creating it from our Father Natures, the mind, the subconscious mind, the atmosphere. So Father Nature, the atmosphere, the mind, becomes the physical Mother Nature around us. So that's the best way, I'm trying to explain it the best way people can, absorb it or whatever. But I'm trying to think of something else to add on. But yeah, if people, like I said, people are lost in so many types of mental programs and indoctrinations, and it's a dangerous thing, because this is crucial for your spirit to understand, because you don't want to be in a spiritual space where you don't understand how nature works in its real capacity. Like, either way, as a spirit, your experiences will lead you your spirit will always lead you into circumstances where you will learn and understand about yourself at the pace that you need to learn, at the capacity that you're able to learn. But there's also situations and events where things happen, and it can be very harsh for a spirit, and they'll have to go through a lot of trauma to understand themselves, so they can develop that awareness and expansion to to develop some type of evolution. But eventually that spirit is going to keep on expanding and evolve to the point where it knows itself and why it's here. And this is what the natives knew. This is what the indigenous people of the land knew before they was colonized by the white people and the British and all these things. So the colonizers gave you the watered down version of what they think. So they gave you religion and all these things, science, all this nonsense and lostness that's keeping people away from their truth. But there's a lot of spiritual mixing going on and hybrids that it just fucked up a lot of shit, and that's a form of hell that you don't want to go to. If you're always thinking about money, how to experience the physical world, if that's all you care about, and things about you always want to have fun, which is nothing wrong with that, but too much fun is evil. If you only care about that, then that makes you turn a blind eye to things that are important. And when too many people do that, then they disregard others. They disregard everybody's existences. They disregard what's happening around the world, and they only care about their own little existence and bubble that they live in. So this is a form of hell that people put themselves in because of selfishness, not knowing any better, greed, and it's basically not knowing any better. But at the same time, you have as a spirit, you should know that it's deeper than you, and you're the same way you're operating yourself is the same way the next person is. And people need to understand that it's outside of you, and you should never you shouldn't always put yourself first in a selfish way. And this is what the colonizers are. They're selfish, they're greedy, they don't care about the environment, they don't care about their people. So this is a spiritual existence becoming physical, and they somehow made this spiritual existence a hell, not only for themselves but for other people. And if you're only fixated in the material world, how to conquer, how to kill, how to take lands and people's freedom, and control other people's minds and do crazy shit, then that's a hell your spirit is going to. That's what you're always going to gravitate towards to, and you're only making yourself more dense and physical and heavy because you're not becoming lighter. All you know is a physical existence. All you know is the things that you did, what you was doing with your mind as a spirit. That's what you allowed to be. That's what you allowed in your spirit that's what you allowed as a spirit. You wanted to, take and do all these things and experience that way of life, that physical experience. So you don't know nothing about the spiritual experience, which is closer to nothing, the spirit. You're more closer to the physical aspect of it, and how to take and pluck from the fruit. And we can't, it's not a good thing to be doing that. So when it comes to getting out of biases and we have to do a lot of spiritual shadow work and get out of things that makes no sense. It's not gonna make any sense, like, to do all these things. It's like I'm speaking, but like I know it's not gonna make sense. It's not gonna make sense, and people are not gonna listen anyways, because people are just too lazy. But it has to be said. It has to be heard. So I guess people just have to go what they have to go through, and experience what they need to experience, to the point where they just hit all the angles that they need to come into that full enlightenment and understanding, no matter how long it takes for that spirit to learn. Because we already been there. The native spirit is here, and we're trying to tell y'all, you're supposed to learn from us. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna just leave it at that, and shout out to y'all. I'm gonna see what other things I can have. I might have plans on making more music, dropping more tapes, more collabs on the way, and it's all about taking over, or at least expanding our knowledge and creativity, and just implementing that towards the world to see, and share that amongst like-minded individuals. But I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'll catch you later. Peace.